All right, we have Tamika Isaac Devine, and we have what I love about her the most is that she's not just talking about living a divine life, she is the divine life. And she has so many different roles, as you heard, that she's a public servant, she's an entrepreneur, and of course, she has one of the most important jobs, the most difficult jobs. She is a mom. And with all these different roles, I'm just wondering, we've talked about a lot of times work-life balance and work-life integration, but what I see with your roles, a lot of them are not in the corporate environment. And so you have a lot of autonomy over your time, a lot of control over your time. I would ask, for a mom who doesn't have this kind of autonomy, do you think that this would still be possible?
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here on your podcast. And thank you for asking that question because I think that is what a lot of folks feel. I get a lot of folks who follow me on social media or come to my sessions and they're like, well, Tamika, that sounds great and that's great for you, but I work for 9 to 5. I'm in corporate America. I can't do the things that you're saying that I should do. And the biggest thing is I tell people you can. The thing is, corporate America is evolving as well. And the biggest thing is that bosses and corporations, they want to make employees happy. And they certainly want you to be productive as an employee. And the best way to be productive is to give you the opportunity to be productive in that job and designing the things that you want. And so what I tell a lot of my clients, and some of my clients are actually corporations who bring me in to work with their workforce. But when I have clients who are in the workforce and they say, how can I make these things that you're sharing with me work for you or work for me? I share with them, first of all, it's about communication. It is having that conversation with your employer, making sure that they understand that in order for you to be the best employee, the best team member for them, and be productive, you need some accommodation to recognize that you are a community leader, that you're a mom of kids in school. And so as long as you're going to still be able to be productive and get the work done that they need you to be done, a lot of times I find that employers will help you do that. And that is through, sometimes teleworking and sometimes doing different schedules and sometimes making sure that, 1 week you might work a little bit more so that next week you can take a little bit of time off to do what you need to do. So it's about kind of having that communication and setting the expectations with your employer so that both of you can work together to find a solution that works for you.
And so a lot of times women are not asking their employer for these accommodations, and I can't blame them because sometimes these accommodations that we ask for sometimes backfire. So how can our leaders, our organizations begin to create opportunities or policies so women don't have to ask? So what kind of things could they do so we don't even have to say, hey, I need to have a flexible schedule, or I need to have a little more time off, or this week I'm only going to work 30 hours versus 40 hours. What kind of things could they do so we don't come asking and they're more proactive?
That is an excellent question. And I think that the best employers in the country right now are the employers who have stayed on the forefront and have made those accommodations or have at least explored those accommodations with their employees so that their employees did not have to ask. Because it puts an employee in a difficult, sometimes uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
You have to come and say, hey, I am thinking about starting a family, but I'm not going to be able to work this long with a young kid. Can I have a flexible work schedule? Most employees don't want to or feel like they can do that. Mm-hmm. And so I think in order to be one of the best employers, as an employer, you're going to have to be on the forefront and figure out how can you set policies, how can you have a work environment that is conducive for work-life integration for your female employees as well as your male employees. Because the other thing that we know is that men also struggle with work-life balance, and men want more time with their families as well. And so when I have my corporate clients, what I do is I come in with them and we initially start with a survey of the
Mhm.
workforce, find out what kinds of policies would be supportive of more productivity among especially the folks who have families. And so part of that as an employer is figuring out what the needs are of your workforce and then how can you accommodate them. And then setting some policies at the beginning. Some of those policies might be flex time. It might be teleworking.
Yeah,
It might be having more opportunities for family functions at work. One of my clients
I love
actually,
that. I mean, we've been talking about being an inclusive environment. That sounds
yeah,
great for inclusive.
share. One of my employees is a very large law firm, and they brought me in, and they found that they were losing not just their female associates, but also some male associates because of the demands it takes to be an
Yeah,
attorney, billable hours, and all.
billable hours.
hmm And so we designed something, and so part of what they found is we designed just more of a family friendly environment, and so we would have family nights at the ballpark, and so their staff members could bring their families, and they'd have game night at the ballpark. We did a family fun day at a local park one day, and they ended up doing a giveaway where the families came and helped do community service for the community. And they then we did a survey later, and they found that those opportunities to bring their families to work made them work harder because they felt like the employer cared about the fact that they were a family person and that their family was able to then come see, hey, this is what mommy does, this is what daddy does, this is their work family. So when they're leaving me because they have to work really hard, this is where they're going. And so
Yeah.
it really became a family. And so those are some things that I think employers can do. And again, hands down, most surveys will tell you that employers who do these type of things are always second to none, the best workplaces voted on by the employees because they have produced that kind of environment.
I love that because we have networking events. They're after work, and a lot of times, it makes it very difficult for women to attend. And this is really where, they're getting the face time of the leaders that they need to be in front of. They're making and building relationships and understanding things that are not necessarily talked about within a formal structure of a meeting. It's happening outside. And so when you've now included that person's family or their partner, they're able to come in with that person. They don't have to kind of decide should I do work or should I do family time. It's all integrated, and that really is truly integration is what we're talking about. So I want to give you some numbers because you talked about people leaving, how people are leaving when they don't experience um, this kind of integration. And what we have found is that 42% of the working women will reduce their working hours for family related issues. So when there's issues that are coming up, they will just now say, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. I'm going to no longer be a full-time employee, become part-time. We found that 39% of them will take off significant amount of time for family illness. So when there is a family illness, who leaves, it's the female employee. 27% of them will quit their jobs because of this a family-related illness. So just absolutely leave their job for some kind of family issue. And 30% of women turn down a promotion because of family. They would just say no to a promotion. So understanding these statistics and understanding that organizations still have gender diversity goals, knowing that organizations are constantly reaching out for women and putting them into the pipeline, what can organizations do to slow down the rush to that exit door?
Well, first of all, I would say all organizations need to be working to slow down that rush and in that rush because what they're going to find is that they're not going to be a place that's attractive for employees. And so they're not going to be able to be competitive in the market. One thing it's interesting because during the whole COVID-19 thing, I think a lot of employers, because it was forced upon them to be creative and figure out ways to get their employees to be able to be productive while they're dealing with stay-at-home orders, schools being closed, and all that
Mhm.
stuff. I have seen in this environment, the best organizations are the ones that were already in front of the curve, who were already putting in things to allow for those opportunities. And so those are the ones that are going to come out of this position to thrive. Whereas we know that work as we know it has
Mhm.
been affected, and the workforce will look different after we're finished COVID-19. So to go back specifically to your question, the things that the employers can do is to again have a working environment that is conducive to their all types of families and
Mhm.
employees that are coming in. And so recognizing that you do have, you've got gender diversity goals, which everyone should not only have goals, but be, that should be a policy that we want to have an equitable
Yes.
work environment. And we want to recognize the work of our women as well as our men, our younger employees as well as our older employees. Because the other thing, when you talk about also diversity, what you find too is millennials and Gen Zers also crave that work-life quote balance so much more that that will determine where they're going to work.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
what we find a lot of these companies do have these co-working environments and teleworking because that's attracted to the millennials. So what I think companies need to be doing is looking at how do you stay ahead of the curve and you address the needs, be able to address the needs of your workforce ahead of time before those problems come up. So clearly, don't wait until you have, a great employee, a female employee that is, she's working nonstop and she's
Mhm.
producing and she's great, and then she decides she wants to start a family, and so don't wait till that and then figure out, oh my gosh, I don't have anything for her. And so her choice is, do I leave this great company that I love and I love the work that I do because it's not going to be supportive of me having a family, being able to leave and have a family, or is this company one that already has something in place that can address that? So, certainly companies want to make sure that they're addressing family leave, being able to have, again, flexible work schedules, allowing for employees to work from home when necessary, allowing work schedules that will give someone the support if they are have certain needs. One
Mhm.
example is a lot of companies are providing for nursing moms that have to
Yeah.
travel, providing opportunities for them to be able to ship their milk.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, well, they're able to, yeah, which is huge, which is huge. I remember in my career, I had a lot of traveling that I was doing during the time when I had just had one of my babies, and it would have been great that I could have packaged that milk and sent it back home. You know.
That's invaluable, and most people don't realize that that is a big thing. So having those kind of things in place that would be supportive of your staff person staying on and being productive, but
Yeah.
also being able to address their family needs that they have. Even having an environment in the workforce, in the workplace, that is a rest environment. It could be a cubicle where someone could go take a nap, because they're working long hours, or because they have kids at home. They may, you don't realize that the work day for a working mom typically starts around 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's
It's,
her second shift. And when the kids
yeah,
go to bed, sometimes she has a third shift.
exactly. And so having those kind of things, having fitness as part of your environment there in the office, making sure that you have maybe a walking trail, or you're supporting their fitness and health needs. All those are things I think companies need to do that has proven to affect their bottom line because it helps them provide those things for the employees and the employees'
And I'm glad you gave us some real practical things, because that's what our leaders need to hear. They need to know, what can we do to retain these women? And these are simple, very simple and very implementable things. And not really any of them, I can't even see where there would be a major hit to anyone's budget. I mean, when you're talking about giving someplace a rest area, I mean, we've seen all these little tents where people can go and rest in the middle of the night. You're thinking about someone who just had a newborn in their house, who probably was up all night. And so they just had, during lunch hour, a time where they could have 30 minutes to rest. We also realize, because most of our females that are working are also caregivers, perhaps maybe even of their parents, and having that caregiving responsibility, having the opportunity to take a little rest break during the day would be great as well. So I love those very practical things. Are these some of the things that you're hearing from the women in your coaching practice that they are asking their organizations for, so they can be able to stay on longer?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I hear some from my clients, but I'm be honest too. Some of my clients actually don't necessarily know what it is they need.
Mm.
They know, look, this is what I'm struggling with, and then through our working together, we figure out, okay, this is what you're struggling with. Let's figure out what the solution is, and then based on knowing what the solution is, what can we look for that will bring you together with that solution. And so that's the interesting part, that sometimes people and your employees don't necessarily even know what the solution is. They just know this is tough.
This is
Is
the
a
problem.
struggle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be burnt out, and I'm going to be having to leave. And so for, again, employers, for you to be on the forefront and kind of, surveying your employees, figuring out what's going on, being observant as to what their struggles are, and then being able to either come up yourself or bring in a consultant like myself to help you figure out, okay, what is the solution and how do we provide that solution to support our team members.
So it's more of a co-creation. So people know that they have a problem, but they don't necessarily have the solution. And the leaders are looking to provide a way to retain their employees, but not really sure what they're struggling with. So they do need to work together and kind of co-create some policies around having a way for them to actually retain. Yeah, I mean, if someone had said to me, we can give you a service to send your milk back, and I'm like, wow, that would have been great. I didn't even think of that, because why didn't I even think of that as an individual, that I could have bought some dry ice, packed it or whatever, and shipped it back? So you're right. We have a problem, but sometimes we don't know the solution. And so it's great for us to have those conversations. So no one should be creating policies or creating strategies or anything without talking to all the parties that are involved. So it should be definitely a co-creation. So with this, I mean, you have this crazy schedule. So what is your secret? Not only that what you're doing, but how can you take what you're doing, and how can we, I guess, maybe what I say, build a framework around it, or is it something that you can teach our HR leaders, or something that our HR leaders can use so they can bring that into their workplace?
Mhm. Yeah, great question. So for me, and people are always like, "Oh yeah, you do so much." I do a lot, but I also do what I want to do, and I share that with folks. It's not like I am running, just constantly chasing the next thing. There's a lot of things that I could be doing that I said no to. Everything that I currently do is I like to do. Stuff that I want to do, and it's part of what I call that a divine life secret. So Devine, of course, is my last name, but also it's an acronym for doing everything victoriously while intentionally navigating expectations.
Oh, I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I don't know if I remember it, but I definitely love it. Yeah, you need a T-shirt with that. You need to get a T-shirt with that on there.
Exactly. But the last part is the important part. It is living intentional while navigating expectations. Expectations you have of yourself, expectations other people have of you, and that other people could be your spouse or your partner, it could be your employer, it can be your children. So navigating those expectations. And so when you mention kind of a framework, that really is the framework, is figuring out, being very clear on what your expectations are of your team and of your employees, what their expectations are of you as a company, and then how do you guys intentionally navigate those expectations so that everybody's very clear on what they are and then what it takes to meet those expectations. And so when you're able to do that, it makes things, honestly, people don't believe me, but it really is true. It makes things a lot easier because you're very clear on where things are and what you have to do to live up to those expectations. And then figuring out, okay, well, then how do I live up to those expectations is for you to decide. For me, yes, I wear a lot of hats. I have a lot of responsibilities. So, and able to navigate those expectations, that might mean saying no to some things that just really are not part of my priorities, and giving myself permission to say no to things that don't align with my priorities and my goals. But it also might mean, working early in the morning and late at night, or, down while everybody is
Yeah.
working at home, is coming into the office on a Saturday. So it depends on, what your expectations are, and then figuring out how do you meet those expectations.
And I think a lot of it, you clearly first have to decide what you want, and then everything else should support that. And I think a lot of times if it's not very clear, it's anything, if you don't have a clear destination, then going back to the whole adage with Alice in Wonderland, when she was standing at the road and she's asking, which way do I go to the Cheshire Cat? It's like, well, it depends on where you're going. And so a lot of it is we need to help and support our staff. And I think, as I'm thinking about that, if someone is in a talent pipeline and they're on their way to a particular destination in their career, then they have to ask themselves, okay, is this going to help me get there? And if it's not, as wonderful as it is, I'm not going to be doing that. And so this way they're able to achieve a lot of the things that they're looking for. Well, this has been such an interesting and very fruitful conversation because, we keep talking about it. We know that this is an issue, but I am so excited that we're getting practical solutions that we can actually use in our organizations to really support women. We cannot keep saying that we want women to be in organizations and then we don't give them the tools and the resources for them to be there. So I'm going to hand over to you, because this is one of the questions we ask everyone on the podcast, the HR magic wand. So we are now giving you the HR magic wand, and tell us what policy or what program or what would you immediately implement if you have the HR magic wand in your hand.
Wow. If I had the HR magic wand in my hand, the policy that I would immediately implement is a policy that supports someone's family lifestyle. Because I do think that we have so many folks who make false choices as to whether or not, they need to go after that promotion. Like you mentioned, the folks who, don't go after the promotion because they have family responsibilities. Mm-hmm. Or the people who forego having a family because they're so ambitious professionally, they feel like it can't go together. So, I would clearly have policies that support the family lifestyle, no matter how that family is made up, how that family lifestyle of my team members, so that they will know that they work for a place that completely supports their family, and therefore they're going to be vested in making my company a success.
Okay, great. And so we're going to ask you our last question, your HR hashtag for gender equity in the workplace. What would be your hashtag?
Oh, that's easy. Work-life integration.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much again. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, how can we find more information of how they can live the divine life?
So they can reach out on my website. My website is adivinelife.com. And again, Devine is my last name, so it's spelled DEVINE. So adivinelife.com, and then they can find me along all social media at Tamika Isaac Devine.
Well, great. And we're going to go ahead and put those URLs in the show notes, so you can make sure you can go ahead and reach out to her. Leaders, reach out to her so we can get these very, very practical policies that she has given us implemented in your organization, so we can stop the revolving door that's happening in our company. Thanks again so much, Tamika.
Thank you.